Chickens. I am trying to get better at doing my mid-month wrap-up, and I promised myself I would do it. So I am sort of just doing the ones that I read in the middle of Peace Talks, which was a readathon hosted by Covers with Cassidy at Romathon, and it might be a little bit off, like I may have gotten the dates specifically off. But in the first half of the month, I did read 8 things, which is really exciting. If you don't care about stats, you could fast forward until I'm holding up books, but yeah. Read 8 things. I read 3,011 pages. My average page count was 97. I did read a lot of graphic novels in this month because of the readathon, because of that Peace Talks I was talking about. And then my average page count was 376. I read a lot of fantasy books, two books with wrap, 7 from authors I read before, 7 books hauled. I actually have to add a couple because I just got a couple in. I had 2 5-stars, 3 4-stars, 1 3.5 stars, and 2 3-stars for an average rating of 3.94. I read 4 new releases, 2 backlists, and 2 from last year. I read 4 physical, 1 audio, 2 mixed media, and 1 ebook. I read 2 series continuous, 3. I started 2 series, I continued in 3, and I read 3 standalone. And I read 2 middle grade, 4 YA, and 2 new adult. I read 1 arc, 1 from the library, 6 owned, and I read 1 romance, 3 fantasy, 2 thriller, and 2 manga or graphic novels. So let's get into the books. The first book that I finished was a book that I just got in the mail. Actually, I didn't even have it when I started reading it. But I read And Then Back to You by B.K. Borison. This is the book that I got in Book of the Month to match my other copy. I really like this book. I gave this book 5 stars. I have always liked B.K. Borison writing style. The first book in the series did not hit as much as I was hoping, but I really did like this one. So you have 2 characters, they're meteorologists, and they're kind of working on the storm of the century. They are very, very opposites attract, and they are kind of forced to work together. And I really like this book quite a bit. It was a fun listen. I had a really rough really rough beginning of March. A lot was happening at my job. And this was just a nice, passive listen. I really do like B.K. Borison's writing. Our main characters also were dealing with, there is a subtle a subtle Alzheimer's plot in the story, but I didn't feel like it affected my enjoyment. We had a complicated family situation on our male part, and I just really liked it. I gave it 5 stars, and I'm excited to see who the next couple is, and I would recommend reading this in the winter because it is about a snowstorm, but I had a fun time, and I gave it 5 stars. And the next book that I read was The Swan's Daughter by Rani Choshki, and I really like this book as well. I gave this book 4 stars. I think that this is a very, very lyrically written story, a stunning book, so pretty. But basically you follow a main character who is a swan, and her dad's goal is to kind of take over the world, and he kind of sends his daughter to this kingdom because there is a competition to kind of win the king's heart, and when you fall in love with this prince, he basically is going to be killed, because that's kind of what happens, and our main character is kind of tasked there to kind of win this competition. And it's very, very lyrically written. It is very, very beautifully written. I like the characters quite a bit. I think because of the lyrical writing style, I felt a little bit disconnected from the characters. But it had a competition. It was fun. It was like a light romantasy, and I enjoyed it, and I gave it 4 stars. I definitely want to read more books set in this world if we ever get it, so I really like this one. And the next book that I read was This Story Might Save Your Life by Tiffany Crumb. I gave this book 5 stars. I love this book. This is probably the one I'm probably going to save. Actually, I probably might save all of these just for the moment, because I really struggle with thrillers sometimes. So basically you follow these 2 characters, and they are working on a podcast. They're podcast hosts where they kind of tell wild stories about how people survive. And then one of the podcasters goes missing, and her best friend, her co-host, is kind of charged to finding her. And I really like this book. It was a very, very quick listen, and I loved it. I struggle with thrillers where I hate the characters, but this one super worked for me, and I had a fun time with it. If you're looking for kind of a unique thriller with characters that you could root for, I had a fun time and gave this book 5 stars. And then I reread Truthwitch, and I only gave this book 3 stars. I was really struggling with this, and I think it's because I've had this book for so long. I really loved this series the first time I read it. I took so long, I took so many years off, and I think I just need to go into book 2 kind of in a better headspace than when I was reading this. But I did wind up giving this book 3 stars, and I want to read book 2 before I decide if I want to keep reading this series. But this is a very, very old classic series, and I wish I liked it better on reread, to be very honest. And then the next book that I read was A War of Warbinds by S.F. Williamson. This book is very different from A Language of Dragons. This book is very, very war-focused in this story. It also does have some mixed media elements kind of loosely put through the book. That's why I counted this for art fantasy. But this is definitely a war-based story. Book 1 was very, very much about the academy and about intelligence. This book is really involved in the War of the Dragons, and I really did like this one. But I think when book 3 comes out, I think I might get it on audio just because it is becoming very, very war heavy. But I liked it. I gave this book 4 stars, and I'm excited to read the final book in this series. And then I did wind up reading a physical book. So I wound up reading Perfect Cover by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I literally just got this in the mail, and I only gave this book 3 stars. This is her first ever series that got picked up again and got recovered, and I really struggled. I didn't feel connected to the characters. I was reading it for the readathon. I was reading like 50 pages, and I just struggled. So I think I'm going to give these to one of the students in my class. I really struggled with this book, so I don't think I'm going to be keeping it on my shelf. And it's sad because I just bought it. But I really do like Jennifer Lynn Barnes' writing styles more recently, like her newer stuff. Since Naturals, I have loved everything. I wanted to give this series a shot, but I just didn't like it. And then I also read Oddity Woods by Katie DeVault. This was a Comic-Con pickup, and it was fine. I gave it 3 stars. I might put this in my library for my students, but it wasn't like a new hit for me. It sort of was just sort of a miss. It was fine. It had a mystery element to it. It was quick, but not very, very memorable. And then the last book I'm going to chit-chat about this is Keeper of the Lost Cities graphic novel volume 2. I will attach a photo. This was a interesting one. I did like this one quite a bit. It's a graphic novel of the Keeper of the Lost City series, which I'm a really, really big fan of. So yeah, I gave the book 4 stars, and I'm really excited to keep reading that series. I really think I should do a reread of the whole series, but I'm waiting until we get a date for that book before I do that. So let me know in the comments what you're currently reading, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, book friends.